Welcome back to This Week in Agriculture. I'm still joined by Patrick Njuguna. Now let's look at another topic here. The youth are a major catalyst for change and a backbone for the nation. Hence, it is paramount to mobilize them for national development through participation in agriculture. In an effort to attract more youth to join the agricultural sector, the government, financial institutions, and various stakeholders held a deliberation dinner at a hotel in Nairobi to harness agricultural finance to the youth and women in the sector.
The agricultural sector is a major contributor to the nation's gross domestic product. The youth and women could play a dominant role in it but are hindered by limited access to finances. The Kenarava Group, a youth-owned agribusiness consulting company, has been on the forefront championing for the youth empowerment through agriculture.
Agribusiness as the next frontier for job creation, investment, but also food security. And the summative of that discussion, I think that's where the hashtag money in the soil was coined, was that agribusiness is going to be the next phase of millionaires and billionaires, borrowing from a statement that is all over the media. And also 2018, Canada Agribusiness Dinner thought it wise to take it a step forward. And we partnered with AgriProFocus to do the National Youth in Agribusiness Forum, which is a much bigger platform to just showcase whatever youth and women are doing in agriculture. But the interesting bit of that discussion was, and is what has informed this discussion today, that most of young people in agriculture and women have the will, the desire, the skills to do agriculture, but there are various impediments to that development. And one of which was very much highlighted was access to finance.
This, however, cannot be achieved without partnerships, as Hamisi Williams, the Assistant FAO Kenya representative, said.
It's reached a time for me that we just have to be practical on how we want to solve matters agriculture, how we want to solve matters food security. You know, even at the UN, we have the SDGs, and we know that the SDGs are coming to an end in 2030. Here in Kenya, we had already done Vision 2030 over 20 years ago. Actually, the economy of this country is supposed to be driven over at about 10% by agriculture sector. And what then is happening is that now we're devising on how. Within the UN cycles now, they're talking of leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. And that's why when you look at the youth and we're looking at the initiatives and the new ways of doing things, I like and I want us to take the example of this team, which the agribusiness Africa came together with Kenarava. Instead of doing the competition, they're working together to be able to implement.
Hamisi assured support for such interventions and reiterated the importance of following up on the recommendations given at such events.
We want to continue partnering with you in this particular area that you've started, and we will be your partners and working together. We got opportunities that come, and I want to just assure you that we'll continue availing those, especially for trainings, both here and abroad. And we've done a few for the Kenarava members and some youthful people. When they come, they get selected, and then they attend to these trainings. My challenge, third dinner, we needed to have started with the resolutions of the second dinner. And where are we in implementing those resolutions? Otherwise, we are going to be having the talk shows of every dinner, and it will not be helping us. And we'll be getting old.
The Israel ambassador to Kenya, Oded Joseph, challenged the county governments to identify and support youngsters who show motivation in farming, adding that they will need to provide farming exchange programs to train these youth further.
The crucial and basic condition, but not sufficient one, is that the youngster himself would have, or she would have, a business plan that is valid, that is solid, that expresses its true motivation to go ahead with what they've learned and what they've experienced in Israel, and to make sure that they can make the relevant adaptation to what is to the unique circumstances over here, because what was maybe true in Israel is not necessarily true for unique conditions here. So the first group would be those youngsters who have this solid business plan. And we will soon be searching for you.
The PS for Agriculture, Hamadi Boga, alluded that the government is in fact planning to create medium-scale farms for the youth who have received professional training in agriculture.
So it will take you, people like you, and not just any youth in the street, youth who have been to school, and not high school, university level, going to farm. That is what it would take. And so we've been having some ideas. We have a new strategy called the Agriculture Sector Transformation and Growth Strategy, where we are talking about creating farms and creating farmers and professionalizing agriculture in Kenya. So if the youth are ready and you engage politicians, because politicians are the main decision makers, we just do the work on their behalf. Ask them for land. In the strategy, we did an inventory of public land. There is still a lot of public land out there. Galana Kulalu alone is 2 million hectares. The KMC land and the Ministry of Livestock has around 1 million hectares, somewhere around there. It's a lot of land. And what we are thinking is that out of this we create medium-scale farms, 30, 50, 100 acres, and give them to this profile of youth that we are talking about, and capacity build them and support them through accessing finance. Because we did a youth in agribusiness strategy and we saw part of the problem is attitude, the other problem is lack of skills, the other problem is lack of finance, the other problem is lack of land. So if we address the issue of land and finance and skills, which we can because we'll be picking graduates, the only thing that we have to deal with is attitude. And here I see a lot of positive attitude. And I think because of the partnership with Israel, we'll start with those 400 because they don't have an attitude problem, I assume.
The event's theme, dubbed Harnessing Alternative Models for Food and Agriculture Transformation, was attended by young farmers who were eager to hear how they can be able to access finance, owing that most financial institutions often have the perception that the youth form a riskier category than the elderly, who form more than 60% of farmers in the country. Reporting for KTN Farmers TV, I'm Paul Thiongo.
Why has it been very difficult for the youth who are working in this town looking for jobs to just go back home and try farming?
The most critical factor is land. You get our parents are not they are not willing to give out land to the youths. Number two, the cost of land is also very high. It's in form of millions. Thirdly, the finances is a problem. The availability of finances, and if it's available, at what interest rate? And again, I think market plays a big role. We don't have a sustainable market, sustainable in terms of the demand and also the pricing. And I also believe we haven't invested very well as a country on agricultural courses. And I think it's time we have agriculture as a compulsory subject. It may be in high school, or maybe we bring agriculture in primary level. And when we go back to school, I remember when I was in school, agricultural practice was a form of punishment. True. And the mentality you grow with is that agriculture is a punishment. I think it's time also to look at how we punish some disciplinary cases in our youths.
I also remember when I was growing up in school, we used to have the 4K clubs. And in those 4K clubs, we used to have small plots behind the classroom where we used to grow vegetables. Do you think that could still help, or that was too rudimental for today's youth?
It will actually help. When you look at most of the high school, the secondary schools, they have chunk of land. Is it the time to finance those students to have projects and then they sell the produce to the school? For instance, they can grow cabbages. Most of the secondary school consume cabbages. And then they sell directly to, and then we try to bring the aspect of commercializing agriculture.
We also know that our farms are not mechanized at all. It is still very hard work. So, do you think our youths are lazy to a point that they think if farming is going to the farm every day with a djembe, I'm not going? Do you think we need to mechanize these farms, regardless of how small they are?
Mechanization is the way to go, but at what level? I remember we had sometimes some discussion on the same. Sometimes we try to mechanize instead of creating more employment or maybe giving back to the society. So not all practices can be mechanized. Others we need to leave them like that and we give back to the society. Again, our youths don't have employment. There are those who didn't make to higher levels or high level of learning. They still need these jobs. So if you mechanize everything, we'll have capital, or we have the economy will be growing, but we'll have high levels of unemployment.
We've also seen that most of the current youth, they are very tech savvy. Do you think by introducing more tech on the farm, the use of apps, the use of, I heard you talking about keeping records, do you think that can encourage the youth to feel that farming is becoming more fun?
I believe record talks volume. And when you have record, or if we can have our farm records, you'll appreciate and see here there is money. If I don't do this and this, or if I remove these inefficiencies, the profit margin will increase. But in most of our farms, or in the way we do our farming, we don't keep records. So we don't have track of what is happening. We don't have the track of the history. We can't even use any data to predict the future. So no one who is interested.
But do you think we have enough market for all the produce that can be produced in a country?
Our population is growing based on the census that we just had the other day. So with the growth of population means the food requirement is also growing. So there will always be a ready market for the same. Again, the government needs to think on how, not really even the private sector, how to add value on these products. Maybe if it's the potatoes, we add value to it. If it's milk, we add value to it. Through value addition, there will be an extra income to the farmers, and the youths will be more encouraged to invest on it.
Okay. I was having some conversation with someone and he was saying our consumption has not yet grown to that sophistication whereby we can accept some things. If you go to countries in Europe, cheese is a very big thing in Europe. It's a very premium product. But here, yet we have so many dairy farmers who are just complaining every time. They are just looking at the price of that raw milk. They don't see the potential of producing cheese. But even if we produce this cheese, who will consume it here?
We haven't created the demand. I don't know the last time I saw an advert on cheese. I think I have never seen, most likely. So we haven't marketed some of these value-added products. And again to the youths, you don't necessarily have to be a farmer or the producer. You can look at the entire value chain. You can just break down the entire value chain and you see the role that you can play. Probably you can see manufacturing as a way of solving the farmer's problem. You'll still be along the agriculture value chain, processing, being a supplier, being a distributor, developing the apps like you just mentioned. You'll still be in agriculture, but on another level. I think it's high time we stop seeing agriculture as just being a primary producer. You can also play a big role along the value chain. Like I said, as we do the trainings, we are still in agriculture. But now our point of intervention is through training and consultancy.
I totally agree with you. Even the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and that is what we maybe is the point we need to take home today, that the youth who have already succeeded in agriculture should come out and encourage their fellow youths who are out there that there is potential and there is hope in farming. Thank you very much, Patrick, on that one. Let's move to another topic. Plant breeding over the years has been seen as a savior in solving various agricultural production problems. As breeders embarked on hybridization, millions of farmers abandoned their local seed varieties. This led to massive plant genetic erosion for local varieties. Now a group of organizations led by HIVOS East Africa has come to the rescue of traditional seed varieties and have launched seed banks across the country. This is a gathering of local farmers and stakeholders at Jimo East Village, about 25 kilometers from Kisumu-Kericho Highway, the occasion being launch of the first seed bank in the region.
Today we have a very important function which we want to conduct, especially the issue of launching of this our seed bank. Some other seeds which we used to have before, they are now disappearing. Now we want to get them back because they are also drought resistant, early maturing, and they are also very sweet for consumption.
Ouko says the group is looking at issuing seeds loans to about 400 farmers who have shown interest.
So the format we also used to do here is just to have the farmers have some simple quantities they put in their farm, they plant in their farms for the multiplication, after which they bring back to our seed banks. Now if we give you 1 tin of the sorghum, we expect you to give us more as a profit so that we can also stock our cereal banks.
Peri Sonyango, a small-scale farmer and member of this group, says she looks forward to her next loan. She is already sure that she will qualify as she has harvested slightly more than 4 kilograms of the sorghum seeds that were lent to her.
We were given 3 different varieties, out of which I've only chosen 2 on both sides of sorghum and millet. The outcome has been good, as I would say on my side, because I harvested. Over the years, hybrid seeds have been replacing the traditional varieties, as the earlier are seen as a solution to food insecurity. However, this is not necessarily the case, according to development experts. HIVOS East Africa Director Mendi Njonjo terms the craze about hybrid seeds as a false narrative, which is costing farmers their seeds, culture, and the country a seeds sovereignty.
It's actually beyond an agricultural story. It's also a story that is about social justice. Because when you look at the seeds that we have, this great gift that we got from our ancestors a long, long time ago, which is how over 70% of our farmers actually share seeds, is now under threat. And it's under threat from 2 things. The first is climate change, which is a very big one. And the second is how modern agriculture looks. Typically, what the seed companies will focus on are the single seed varieties.
Mendi also insists that the hybrid seeds require a lot of high mechanized systems, which is not affordable to most farmers. Mendi adds that the traditional seeds will be a greater solution to food security, not necessarily because they produce well, but because they are sustainable.
Your first yield with certified seeds, you're going to get a bumper harvest. But to sustain that, now that's the problem.
HIVOS, in conjunction with other partners, has been actively supporting seed saving system in a bid to establish an open seed sourcing system, value chain along the sector. Patrick, as we were talking I remember when we were growing up, we used to have maize with different colors. They used to look very nice. What happened to those seed varieties?
I think our farmers are exposed to a lot of unresearched or unverified information. For instance, here on seeds, maybe someone comes with a hype. This one produces maybe better than the local ones, and all the farmers go that route. We don't give, when we have such things or such seeds introduced in the country, do we really give our research institution time to research on them, and then they give us information based on our ecological zones, based on our climatic conditions? But again, our borderlines are open. You just import, you hype it, you market it very well, and the farmers go that route. That's how we lost our local breed. And most likely our local breed performed better than the hybrid that we have now.
Also, that reminds me of the global warming issue that we've been talking about. Most of these hybrids are not doing that well. Most of them are struggling. And some of these organizations are now saying our traditional crops would have done better in these kinds of climates. Does that hold any water at the moment?
Yeah, it does. Again, I'll go back to the Big Four agenda, where the further security is one of the agenda. And you realize if you are to go that route, some of these hybrid won't guarantee us. And what I understand in my own opinion, by the food security, is you can be able to produce it sustainably and it's available throughout. But some of these are hybrid. They are dependent on the climatic condition. Like what you have said about the cassava. I highly doubt if the indigenous cassava could be affected by these climatic changes. Our ancient sweet potatoes, our ndomas those time, I highly doubt if it could be affected. We had a very good maize variety that was doing very well in the central region. I remember my grandmother planting it. It was performing way better than the hybrid that we have now.
I know you're a dairy expert. Do we have also traditional fodder that our grandparents used to use before, and that you think might still be of value to farmers at the moment?
I'll just look at our production system back then, which was grazing. And when you look at the fields that they were grazing, it was Kikuyu grass, which you are stepping on right now. But now you are made to believe that this grass is not good. We zero graze, we plant Napier, we plant these other grasses that have been imported. We go to the maize, whereas the Kikuyu grass will have done wonders. And actually now some farmers are going back to the Kikuyu grass, which is very hardy, drought tolerant. I think it's rarely attacked by any disease. I've never heard of a disease attacking the Kikuyu grass. When you look at our Napier, the Napier was doing very well, and it's still doing very well. And when you look, and now I have seen farmers going back to Napier and doing it in a very intensive way. So when you even in the dairy sector, again when you look at the few years ago when you used to do the grazing along the Kikuyu grass or those grasses, you'll get the leguminous plants, and that's why the farmers back then could record high levels of production. Now is the time you are trying to go back there by establishing the likes of Akinalusan and the like.
So do you think the government need to take a lead on this one and encourage farmers now to mix the two?
The government has a voice on that one. They're the ones to give us the directions. We rely on the information. They are the ones who are mandated to do the research.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for coming. I'm sure our viewers have really learnt a lot. Maybe as we wind up, what do you have to as your parting shot?
We have dealt so much, I was saying, on dispensing information. On 7th December, we have a dairy training at Ruaka, and farmers are welcome. Come and learn. And in case you need more information about the same, you can contact us through 0759 945 708. Again, as I said, I'm a dairy trainer, I'm a dairy consultant. Feel free to invite us in your farm, and we can guarantee you we'll change your losses to profits.
Indeed. Patrick has said I can help you change your losses to profits, and information is power. And on that point, that's where we are going to end today. Until next time, goodbye.